Okay, for today, we're going to learn how to divide fractions, okay? So first of all, my fractions can only have a number at the top and a number at the bottom. So question number 49, for example, that's good. Each fraction only has a number at the top, a number at the bottom. Now 50 is not quite correct because my second fraction is not how I want it. So I'm gonna have to work on that one a little, but let's start with 49. It is how I need it. Everything has to be a fraction. So if I'm given a whole number, put a 1 underneath. It has to be a fraction. Everything is a fraction to begin with. Okay, so what I'm going to do for dividing fractions, I'm going to switch them to multiplication. I'm going to leave the first fraction alone. So I'm going to write 5/6 times. Like I said, instead of division, I'm going to change it to times. We were dealing with multiplication last week, so we know how to do this. The only thing is that I'm going to flip the second fraction. I'm going to get the reciprocal. Reciprocal is when I flip the fraction. So my second fraction is going to be 7/3. Notice I flip the second fraction. Some people like to say division in fractions. It's a multiplication of the reciprocal, right? Probably you guys have heard that before. Yeah, so we switch it to times, but we flip the second fraction. Okay. Now let me work things out. Let me simplify if I can. I'm going to choose a number from the top, a number from the bottom, and divide them by the same thing. All right, my idea is make the number smaller, if possible. Right, 5/6, I cannot do anything. 5/3, nothing. 7/6 or 7/3, nothing. So, okay, I guess I cannot simplify. Now I'm just going to multiply straight. On the top, I have 5 times 7. That's 35. At the bottom, I have 6 times 3. That's 18. Now, on my answer, the number in the top cannot be bigger than the number at the bottom. So we saw yesterday, we saw division of integers. So I'm going to go 18 into 35. How many times is 18 going to 35? I'm going to say one time. 1 times 18 is 18. When I subtract this, I get 17. My answer will be 17/18. So 1 and 17/18. That's how I write it. So if I was to write this on a piece of paper, 1 and 17/18. Now, how am I going to type this? I'm going to put my 1, my whole number, put it as a 1. I'm going to leave a space in between my number and the fraction. And then I'm going to write 17/18. So 1 and 17/18. Don't forget the space. I'm leaving a big space here for us to emphasize there is a space. But when you type in your answer, don't forget the space. Now, the reason why I want the space, because otherwise it will look like 117/18. Right? So now let's take a look at number 50. First of all, my fractions can only have a number on the top, a number at the bottom, no number at the side. So let me rewrite this as a negative 1/3 divided by, okay, so my second fraction, I must keep an 8, the 8 at the bottom, but for the number on the top, I'm gonna go 4 times 8 and add it to the top. I know 4 times 8 is 32, plus the 1 that's on the top is 33. So now I have it the way I wanted it. I wanted this as a number on the top, a number on the bottom, no numbers at the side. And I just remember, I just said division and fraction is you multiplied and then the reciprocal of the second fraction. So I'm going to have a negative 1/3 times 8/33. Okay, so I'm just going to first try to simplify if you can. I see the 3 and the 33. I could divide each by 3. But in this case, I'm not going to because I have to choose a number in the top and a number from the bottom, not both from the bottom. All right, so I cannot simplify. So when I look on my question here on the top, multiply my numbers on the top. 1 times 8 is 8. At the bottom, 3 times 33 is 99. Because one of my fraction is negative, let me bring the negative sign to the front. Okay, the big number's at the bottom, so we're good. So the way I'm going to type this will be negative 8 over 99. Bring the negative to the front of the fraction. All right, let's take a look at number 51. We multiply this out, add it to the top. So I know 3 times 7 is 21 plus the 1 on the top, I have 22 over 7 divided by a negative 1/2. Oh, divided by. Okay. So this is, I'm going to write this as 22 over 7 times 2 over 1, a negative 2 over 1. Remember, I change it to times and then do the reciprocal, the second fraction. So that gives me, when I multiply my numbers on the top, 22 times 2 is 44. At the bottom, 7 times 1 is 7. I have a negative sign because one of my fraction is negative. Now, the number on the top cannot be bigger than the number at the bottom. So I'm going to divide 7 into 44. 7 goes into 44 6 times, because 6 times 7 is 42. My remainder is 2. So my fraction will be 2 over 7. The way I'm going to write this, it's a negative, right? It's a negative fraction. So let me put my negative sign. 6, a space, 2 backslash 7. So negative 6 and 2 sevens. Take a look at number 52. Let me fix this out. My first fraction, I'm going to multiply these added to the top. 5 times 7 is 35. 35 plus 6 is 41 over 7 divided by 9 over 5. And I'm going to change this as 41 over 7 times 5 over 9. Simplify if possible. This one I cannot. So I'm just going to multiply straight. On the top, 41 times 5 is 205. At the bottom, 7 times 9 is 63. Okay, so let me work this out. How many 63s go into 205? Let me try at 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 6 is 18. When I subtract this, I get 16. So I'm going to have 16th over 63. This is how I write this. 3 and 16 over 63s. That way I'm going to type this. 3, then there's a space, 16 over 63. Now, one case that a division confuses people is when I write my division as a fraction of 2 fractions. Now, this is the same as a negative 1/2 divided by a negative 1 and 3/8. Same thing. The number in the top comes first, the number at the bottom comes second. That's it. That's it. So I'm going to switch it to that. And I remembered I cannot have mixed numbers. So mixed numbers when there's a whole number in a fraction. So I cannot have mixed numbers. I'm going to have negative 1/2 divided by, this is a negative with an 8 at the bottom. I'm going to go 1 times 8, add it to the top. So I have 11 over 8. Okay, so now I have a negative 1/2 times a negative 8 over 11. Now here I can simplify. Here I can simplify a little. I can choose the 8 and the 2. Right? I can divide each by 2. So now this is 4 and this is 1. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to multiplication. On the top, 1 times 4 is 4. At the bottom, 1 times 11 is 11. Now, when it comes to the signs, negative times a negative, it's positive. My big number's at the bottom, so I'm good. 4 over 11. Now, let's take a look at question 54. A fraction of two fractions is the same thing as 1 and 1/2 divided by 5 and 7/8. The same thing. Okay, so I have to fix each of my fractions. Here for the first one, remember I have to multiply these two, add it to the top. 1 times 2 is 2 plus the 1 on the top. So I have 3 over 2 divided by, let's see, my second fraction, I have an 8 at the bottom. But for the top, I'm going to go 5 times 8 plus 7. So 47 over 8. So this I'm going to work as 3 over 2 times 8 over 47. I can simplify. I see this 8 with this 2. I can divide each by 2. So 1 and 4. When I multiply my numbers, I have 12 over 47.